Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Run It Back, and I am joined by Mr. Quarantine himself, Mike McDonald, who even took the liberty to shave his hair for this opportunity. And I needed a drinking buddy today. So, Mike, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we're going to watch high-stakes poker today here on Run It Back. For everyone in the chat who is familiar with the format, you could ask any question you want. Just don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and have some fun along with us. Mike, important things first. While I roll the intro of this episode of High-Stakes Poker, what are we drinking today?
It's, I guess, not a great drink, I suppose. I've haven't been drinking much lately and kind of figured to focus more on my free throw bet. Let's not really keep any alcohol around the house that I enjoy. so I'm drinking like a knockoff Cosmopolitan. A Cosmopolitan made with one of these San Pellegrino, I don't know what you could, flavored sparkling water type drinks or something. So it's not glamorous. What are you drinking?
I brought out one of my favorite beers, which is a German Weissbier. In my best German. We're going to pour this live on air, so let's see how this goes. We are going to have some fun. If you guys are drinking at home, please let us know what you got in the glass today. Norm McDonald hosting this show, by the way, the first and only time he probably did that. Season 7 of High Stakes Poker was the last of its kind, but we are bringing it back, so don't worry about that. We're going to have High Stakes Poker back on PokerGo. All 7 seasons are now available on the website as I try not to spill this beer that's overflowing. Man. Oh, by the way, this glass I took from the great bar in London that we had close to the British Poker Open. I love taking glasses from bars. Do you have a stupid habit like that?
I'm not much of a collector. I mean, we do have some stolen glasses from bars at my place in Waterloo, mostly from 10 years ago. But yeah, I don't know. I've thought about this more as I get older, and you see someone who collects, whether it's a postcard or a coaster or a stamp or, something from everywhere they've been. And, it is something where I kind of regret not doing some more sentimental things about the time when I was traveling for poker. Like, it's so easy to get so focused on just get to the casino, try to win the tournament, focus, study in the off time. And I'm like, man, I've been to like 40 different countries and don't really have anything to show for it. So I kind of wish I did, had whether even if it's just, a stolen beer glass from pubs in 100 different cities like that, something like that would be fun.
Yeah, definitely. I'm one of those people. I have a lot of different glasses from different places. We are watching season 7 of High Stakes Poker. If you're just joining us, thank you so much. We're going to watch almost an hour and a half of high-stakes action. Doyle Brunson in the game, Phil Laak, Bill Klein. We got a chubby Phil Galfond. I'm not sure if that's like a superpower, but it's really funny to watch. Johnny Chan, nice. Of course, rocking some expensive diamond jewelry. And immediately we got a hand going on. We got Gelfand against Phil Laak. Laak makes a raise. Gelfand calls, and some old school poker being played here on this episode. So also feel free to let us know in the chat how you feel about the actions being played, and let's just listen in on this first hand here.
This is his first appearance this season on High Stakes Poker.
Uh-huh.
We'll see if he can perform some wizardry with Queen 9.
Can't get it.
That's 4,500.
18,200.
Laak says you're not running over me, pal.
It wasn't a 2 or a 3. 3 or 4.
Gelfand immediately shocked and surprised at what this line really means and reluctantly gives it up. Mike, talk about how you enjoyed this series as a fan, and how close were you, if close at all, to perhaps ever playing on the show?
Yeah, so there was a time when I got invited to the show shortly before Black Friday, and I think Black Friday, because I was too young to play on the show when it was airing. Like, I think it always happened in Las Vegas where you need to be 21 years old to play. So I think around the time I was 21, they were trying to like slot me in for an episode, and then Black Friday happened, everything kind of went under and whatnot. So I never, basically if I was younger or if I was older, I would have played, or if it survived another season, I probably would have played. But never was on it. But it was cool watching this, where it was some of the first like real-ish poker content that you'd see on TV, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. And as a fan, I mean, you, I believe, played your first online poker high stakes when you were 9 years old. So you must remember watching this from the very beginning as well.
Yeah, I believe this came out when I was about 7 or 8 years into my poker career.
Yes.
No, but all jokes aside, I started out as a limit hold'em player, and I remember kind of this and high stakes poker. I think I got into them maybe season 2 of high stakes poker. Would that have been around 2005 or something? Somewhere in that kind of era. It was some of the kind of first no limit that I would be watching. Before I ever really I used to watch the World Poker Tour occasionally, but not often. Maybe saw 20 episodes when I was younger. But yeah, this was kind of what I was watching when I was kind of transitioning to starting to play no limit tournaments and some no limit cash, and it was kind of cool to see the plays that people are making.
Yeah, so many iconic shows and episodes and hands, and I think season 7 is a little bit the forgotten season because it happened right around Black Friday. And I think many people might not even remember this season in particular. So it's really cool to see these hands now and see these guys go to battle. Some big cards here, but obviously Klein not 4-betting before the flop makes the pot a lot smaller than it could have been. But Laak setting the queens here.
Why did the pot get so big with Gelfand in it? What happened pre?
I think Bill Klein made it 11,000 and Laak just flat called.
And Gelfand called as well, or called 3?
Yeah, he called as well.
Did he overcall?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, it's an interesting call. Where I guess it is nice to get in the 3-way pots, and especially if they're like 400,000 deep or something like that.
Yeah, the stacks are really deep on this show as always, and it's just cool to see that the poker that was played back then is so different from what we see now on TV.
Yeah.
Skip the river?
Tell you what, now I bluffed that one.
Bold move by Gelfand.
Yeah.
Mr. Gelfand.
Okay, so the action was Bill Klein 3-bet and they both cold called or something, or Laak opened, or what exactly was the action pre?
Let's see what happens here with Laak, and then we'll piece this back together.
All right, sounds good.
If you don't have it, you win, kid.
All right, we gotta go see what exactly
Sorry
happened
about
there.
that.
No, it's totally good. That's the beauty of the show. We're live. We can do whatever we want. No one's gonna stop me. Oh, Gelfand made it 14K.
So Laak called, Gelfand squeezed. They both called. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. That's a bit of a bold squeeze. Like definitely a spot where Laak just makes so much sense to back raise. I think.
Right.
It's like you could be like. You don't need to go to war with this hand. You could be back raising aces, just like put out 45 grand and, probably don't play for stacks. I have no idea what Laak's stack size is, but there's just probably a lot of value to be had building the pot against Klein. And then, on that board, it's a bit of a gross spot. You probably have to continue with queens, but maybe fold 10s or something like that.
Right. What is your memory of the highest cash you've ever played, and was it also as cool as it looks on TV?
Not as cool. I played 500, 1,000 cap no limit as a 17-year-old. That was the biggest cash I ever played. We used to me and Mike Watson used to just kind of short stack 200, 400. And we'd like chop action, and then we got to kind of know the player pool.
Oh, we lost Mike here for a second. Let's hope he reconnects. He lives in the mountains in Canada, so until he reconnects, let's turn up the audio a little bit here.
And is Gelfand raising with Jack 7 suited and Doyle calling with 8-5 suited.
Huh. Phil Galfond still got me on curious tilt.
I'll tell you one day.
Curiosity tilt.
Flush draw for both players.
He bluffed you, kid.
You got plenty
Feels
of
like he
hours
had
to
He
figure
didn't
it
have a
out.
straight, I'll tell you that.
Bet 6,000.
This is going to be a
Doyle
big one,
bets
guys.
his.
Just min, raise, and win. Just reach down and find your sack. I know it's hard, but you know it's there, right?
I like to do that when I have the 7.
Right.
Just 7 at 7-9.
You get me twice now, guys.
'Cause it's a chopper.
Gelfand dropped out, so we are just going to wait until he returns. Oh, there he is.
Hey.
You're back.
Uh-oh.
All right, cool. Did you catch any of that or no?
No, you froze right when the story was about to get interesting. So
Okay.
we have an interesting situation happening here.
Sure.
Let's actually go back and watch this hand, and then go into the story of your biggest cash game, because this hand was developing in a way that probably leads to some good conversation. For the people in the chat, please chime in. Let us know if you have any questions for Mike. He's in the middle of a prop bet to shoot 1,000 million free throws all in a row without hitting the rim. So it's big stuff. Betting a lot of money. We're both having drinks. You guys please join us. So let's watch this hand as Gelfand gets involved with the Jack 7 of diamonds.
Played where it's not binding.
Raise to 2,500.
It's not we all playing bonding, right?
If you say a number, how can it, what?
It is to me. That's why.
That's what I thought.
4,200.
Meanwhile,
Words your gut.
what's binding in this hand is Galfond raising with Jack 7
That's about as
suited
binding
and
as-
Doyle calling with
as
8-5
against.
suited.
4 more hundred.
Huh. Phil Galfond still got me on curious still.
I'll tell you one day.
Curiosity tilt.
Flush draw for both players.
They bluffed you, kid.
You got plenty
Feels
of
like he
hours
had
to
He
figure
didn't
it
have
out.
a straight, I'll tell you that.
Bet 6,000.
Doyle bets his.
Just min raise and win. Just reach down and find your sack. I know it's hard, but you know it's there, right?
I like to do that when I have the 7.
Right.
Just 7, not 7-9. I don't need a 7-9 because it's a chopper. I'm crushed. He's gonna have 7-9.
Galfond calls. Uh-oh. This could cost a chunk.
All right, how big is this pot going to get? Give me an over-under.
Okay, the over/under. Let me think.
We
I'll
have.
say over/under 185K.
All right, I know the answer, so I'm not going to say that. If you're in the chat,
All right.
let us know what you think. 185K between Doyle and Gelfand. Let's see how this plays out.
Bet 14,000.
14,000 to start with. Raised to 36,000.
Raise to 36,000.
No way. Okay. For a second, I thought he was
Yeah,
gonna
hard
fold.
hand to get away from.
A little action in this little high stakes, folks.
We had the biggest fold on the show earlier this week, where Doyle folded queens to a single bet on a low flop in a very strange spot. It's too much to get into now, but Doyle is definitely not. He's okay with giving up big hands.
Yeah. I guess I didn't factor in board pairing equity. I would have said a lower. I probably should have said like 130 as my over/under if I considered the fact that flushes won't always be that strong on the end.
Pair did not scare Galfond. He bets 54,000.
Bet 54,000.
Come on.
54,000.
Looks bad.
Well, my line was pretty close, I guess, but I think I should have set it lower.
The over comes in. Do you think Doyle should consider folding there, or is and was Gelfand always way too?
Oh yeah, for sure. You know, I mean that's especially with the sizing. You know, you like you probably only call that river if you are think you're beating enough value to call river. You know, like maybe you call a jack high flush or a 10 or 9 high, probably jack high flush is probably like basically. I feel like Phil's hand is probably face up, where you just fold all worse, call all better. But I mean, in practice, I mean, this is 2011. But you know, if I could hop into Doyle's body there, I think I would like literally call perfectly against that.
All right, the action continues here as the stacks are very deep. Now back to your story, Mike. The biggest cash game you ever played. You started out by saying that you were short stacking with Mike Watson. What was the exact sort of rundown there?
Yeah, so we used to play a lot of kind of 100, 200, 200, 400, just blind for 20 big blinds. We give a few double up, basically. And then a couple of the players that we thought were some of the soft spots started occasionally playing 500,000 cap no limit. So that was interesting where, you know, you need to play 30 blinds deep instead of 20. And also the stakes are the highest. Like in my head, I'm like, okay, you know, playing 500,000 when I'm a fucking teenager, figured if I stick with poker, get poker. Like if I envisioned myself ever having the degree of kind of success I've had with poker, I would have assumed, oh, at some point you'll be playing 2K, 4K no limit. But I just kind of stopped playing cash when I was about 19. And yeah, so you know, I think played a couple sessions there. I think overall I was down like a couple buy-ins, like down 90K or something like that. But yeah, we used to just kind of chase around like David Benjamin and John Hennigan, and then when they were playing, we'd play kind of thing. So that was our thing, and it's kind of funny. So David Benjamin against Mike Watson and I, he was probably like, I don't know, he like 200 or 300K above EV against us, which is a lot, 8K at a time. You know, he was the guy that he used to always beat up on Mike, just like winning every all in. And then it was pretty ironic where, you know, Mike's biggest score, he got heads up in a WPT with David Benjamin. And I think he might have even sucked out on him once or twice. So it's like, I mean, you know, he got his redemption. I never really got my redemption when we used to kind of chop action in those games. But yeah, David Benjamin used to, you know, we used to always kind of hop into the game with him. And he did pretty well against us.
I mean, that was really the heyday of shot taking, right? It was one of those situations where even if you lost a lot of your bankroll, it was easy to build it back up again to take those shots. Was it sort of that sort of thought process for you guys as well? It's like, if we hit it big now, we're going to run away and, you know, take all the money?
Yeah, I think both of us. I mean, it's been so long since I thought about this. I think we kind of took. I forget if it was like we each had a rough amount, like 150 or 200K or something, where we just kind of watched the games and we're just like, these guys just seem to be playing like really bad. Like even Phil Galfond, I just remember a hand against him where it's like, you know, he raises hijack, I shove like 22 bigs on the button and he calls 5-4 suited. Like, you know, I'm sure he doesn't remember that hand, but for me, I'm like, holy fuck, even like one of my heroes, Phil Galfond, is making calls that lose, you know, 2.5 big blinds against short stacks. You know, it was, you know, it was definitely, you know, the guys, maybe a 6-5, regardless, it was just like, no one really played seriously against the short stacks. I think the Dang brothers were pretty good. I feel like, I was a couple, like, yeah, I was pretty, like, I didn't know who they were back then. But like, you know, they had a whole bunch of different screen names and whatnot. And I think that they were, yeah, I think they were some of the few people that actually took things seriously against short stackers. But if you look at kind of the old school guys that were kind of the regs in those 200, 400 games, like we started out just chasing Guy. Like we sat in the game when Guy was playing, and then we're like, holy fuck, Benjamin's as bad as Guy. Holy fuck, John Hennigan might be worse than Guy against short stackers. And then, you know, it was just like, as far as the value we got from being in the games against these guys, we were just like, it was just kind of incredible. So I think we each decided we'll quit doing this if we drop, you know, 150 or 200K each, I think was something like the number. But yeah, we just used to play a lot of those games, and then we did quite well in terms of big blinds. Like all in all, between the two of us, like maybe we made, I don't know, 500K at games under 500, 1,000, and then dropped 150 or 180 or something at 500, 1,000 or whatnot. So like we did well in terms of big blinds. And then Mike went on and started like learning PLO and would short stack the big PLO games once kind of no limit died, but big PLO was going on in like 2009, 2010 kind of thing. But yeah, like neither of us ever became like talented cash game players. We just kind of, you know, short stack when games were soft and whatnot.
I mean, let's be honest here. Short stacking a cash game is like the most tournament player approach to playing cash games.
Yeah, yeah. So as far as the biggest cash games I've played that's not short stacking, I've played a moderate amount of I played a decent amount of kind of 100, 200 on Paradise Poker back in the day. After they got acquired by Boss Media, the stakes went up. So I played a decent amount of 100, 200, and occasionally they'd play 100, 200 pound. So 100, 200 pound at the time was around 200, 400. So that would be kind of like full stacking that. And then the other big game that I played that was actually quite fun was, are you familiar with Bet King, the ICO done by Dean Nolan, or no?
It sounds familiar, but I can't really remember.
he's like a poker player, played high stakes on stars. You know, his ICO turned out to be kind of an exit scam, but basically it was like a poker casino or whatnot. And they would run big games. They'd run, what was the stakes? I think it was 2550 mil of Bitcoin, like 20, basically 0.025, 0.05 Bitcoin.
Wow.
Back when Bitcoin was about 9,000. So it was like 225, 450 or so. And this was PLO. And like I've probably played 50 or 100,000 hands of PLO. I think I could beat 2-4 on stars 10 years ago and lose at 5-10 on stars 10 years ago, and then haven't really played PLO in 10 years. And this is even after I had retired from poker, but I heard about these big PLO games running. So like I've played, some, 225, 450 PLO when I barely know the rules. Just if there was, 2 shit players in a 6-player game, kind of hop in that. That would have been about 2 years ago or so. So I've played, that would be, as far as full stacking, like, over 200, 400 PLO is kind of, in a game you barely know how to play. It was definitely one of the bigger games.
Wow, that's pretty awesome, man. It's cool to hear those stories of like the whole sort of journey you've been on, because most people just know you as a tournament player. They see the kid with the braces, they see the guy against Jamie Gold, and then they expect, the money just comes raining down. But you've taken shots in various different ways. Shout outs to the chat. Giannis, Kevin, Johnny, Boot, Andrew. Thanks you guys for chiming in the chat. Let me just check on Facebook as well. We're doing this both on YouTube and Facebook, so whatever your preferred platform is, go find Poker Central on YouTube or PokerGo on Facebook if you are on either one of these platforms. Boris, shout out to you as well on Facebook. Jonas is asking, is this live? No. We are watching High Stakes Poker Season 7 from back in the day, but the conversation is indeed live. So if you have any questions for Mike or myself, or about the game, or whatever else you want to know about PokerGo content, please feel free to drop it in the chat. Also, let us know where you're watching from and what you're drinking, because Mike is having a Cosmopolitan. I heard it's sort of a basic one, but a Cosmopolitan is a Cosmopolitan. It's a good drink. And I'm having a beer. I'm having a German wheat beer. One of my favorites, obviously. And I must say, I've been trying to live healthy, but I cannot do this show without having at least one drink. So there you have it. You guys, thanks for being with us here. Mike Chan's asking, what kind of car you got these days, Mike? Obviously, the story of the Lamborghini is very well known. Are you a Nissan driver now, or did you still keep a fancy car around?
So I've got. I mean, neither of my cars are shit. I mean, the one's pretty old, so it's sort of shit. So the first car I ever bought. In 2009, I bought a 2008 Lexus IS250, and that was kind of my daily driver when I had the Lambo. And then when I sold the Lambo, I still kept that car. So when I'm in Waterloo, that's still my car. It doesn't have Bluetooth. It doesn't have heated seats. It's still, again, it's a Lexus. It's a totally good car, but it's got to be 12, 13 years old now. And I think if I was, if I was considering, basically if coronavirus wasn't going on, I'd probably be getting a Tesla in Waterloo. I've just kind of, been on the fence about, buying a car the last couple of years. At some point, it just kind of dawned on me where it's like, I'm totally fine with that car. But at some point I was just like, hey, I'm sure the last decade has had improved like safety features and stuff like that. And I was like, hey, at absolute minimum, I should, get something that's kind of the equivalent of that, but 10 years newer. So I kind of started shopping around for cars, and then some friends convinced me to get a Tesla, and then coronavirus happened and I stopped leaving the house. So, if this ever goes away, I'll probably end up getting a Tesla.
Yeah, you won't.
And
ever
out
need
at
a
my
car
place
again,
in Alberta, I have a BMW X5M. It does 0 to 60 faster than my Lambo did, and it's a fun car. I like it more than the Lambo. And it's something where if someone scratches it or anything, like I'm not that concerned. It's kind of right in the tier of car that I love driving, but also feel comfortable driving, I suppose. So that it's been perfect.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I like that a lot. Also, you can sell both cars. We're never leaving our houses ever again. This is the new normal. We're always going to live in our bunkers. I know you live underground, up in Canada somewhere under a mountain, so you're pretty safe out there. It took a long time, Mike, but the first question finally came in on your free throw bet. This Fat Sunny asks, Did Mike get any action on his free throws? Well, Mike, did you get any action on your free throws? And please explain to the people who are unaware of the prop bet that you are currently amidst of.
Yeah, so I made some bets on whether I can hit over 90 out of 100 free throws by the end of the year. Oh, by the way, shout out to Bitcoin, which just broke 10,000. Usually I'm aware of that up to the second when it happens. But basically, yeah, so I never really played basketball growing up. Aaron played a fair bit of basketball, was a good high school player or an okay high school player, didn't play in college or anything. But, in our house at Canmore, we have like a basketball hoop installed in his room. And I was just kind of thinking, about something I could do, kind of get in shape. I was originally thinking this might be the year that I kind of work on golf. And then I realized, hey, we might not be leaving the house or whatnot. And then, so, free throw shooting seemed kind of similar to like putting and chipping or whatnot. And I was like, hey, this seems like something I could, a skill I could learn. So yeah, basically just, talk to, just kind of decided like, hey, if I were to kind of work on my shooting for several months, what could be a level I could get to? And then what we agreed to is that I have unlimited attempts and I need to make 90 out of 100 free throws at some point this year to win the bet. And
right.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So basically, if you shoot 100 straight, it's a rolling total, right?
Yeah.
So basically, if you've shot 80 in 110, then those first ones you've hit will fall off, and then the last streak you're on will continue.
Yeah. So the agreement is that I need to declare when the attempt starts. So let's say I start out and I'm only 12 for 15 or something like that. I can just stop and be like, hey, I've already missed 3 with 85 to go, and then I can restart. But then let's say hypothetically I hit 12 for 15, and then I did my restart, and then I hit 80 in a row. I hit 80 in a row such that I would have won that bet.
Right.
And then I missed 20 in a row. Well, I wouldn't win off of that.
Okay.
Like basically I can't, it's not like rolling as in I can have multiple attempts going on at once. I need to kind of declare, okay, I'm done with this attempt. I'm starting a new one.
Right. So then as far as the action goes, how big are we talking, and is there action still coming in? Do you still like your side after having had, a week or two to practice? Like how are we doing right now?
Well, so it's already up to about 5 weeks so far.
5 weeks.
So it started. I think April 5th, April 6th is when it started. So it's over maybe 5 weeks, a bit much, but like just over a month. And yeah, I think I have just over 200K. Like basically a couple of the bets are in Bitcoin. So I used to be saying just under 200K, and now I'm saying just over 200K after this recent rally. So yeah, roughly 200K if the price stays as it is right now.
Nice. That's an awesome prop bet, and then hopefully we get to see some live streaming of you doing some attempts. Have you already been attempting, or are you just practicing knowing that you won't have a shot anyway right now?
Yeah, so I haven't. I mean, occasionally I'll go and shoot 100, but not that often. So I ended up hiring a coach, and he basically said he recommend like my shooting's so bad that he recommends not even doing free throws right now. Like he thinks shoot from 5 feet, get the mechanics down. Once you're comfortable from 5 feet, shoot from 6 feet, shoot from 7 feet. So before doing that for the first couple of weeks, I was just chucking up 600 or 800 throws a day kind of thing, and maybe like 500 to 700 throws a day. And then yeah, he was just kind of saying, all my shots I'm doing, I'm tired. If you go shoot 300 in a row, most of those shots are when you're tired. So he kind of recommended more sessions, but shorter sessions, and really kind of emphasizing the mechanics. So like, I haven't really, I would say kind of since I started talking to him, probably under 5% of shots are free throws, just kind of go 6-footers, 7-footers, 8-footers and stuff. So we're still kind of just working through just kind of understanding like what the shot should be before any real attempts. But I have a smaller bet. I have a $5,000 bet on whether I have one day, like I'll just go in on June 1st and I have to make 18 in a row at some point on June 1st. And so that'll be kind of, probably my first time sort of, shooting on stream where, everybody can kind of kind of look at how that's going. And I figured, I know with a lot of when people make these weight loss bets or other of these long-term challenges, I know that when people set goals, it's so easy to work hard for a short-term goal and give it 100%, but it's really tough to give it 100% for a more medium to long-term goal. So I was kind of thinking, okay, as a way to kind of motivate myself, let's make these kind of monthly bets. I'm probably going to lose the first monthly bet, but it's still like, it's almost like a tax you pay to up your chances for the yearly bet kind of thing. So that's kind of my mentality is try to have something to work toward each month, just so that I don't get, when the finish line is so far away, it's easy to kind of get distracted, and just kind of wanted to approach it in that fashion.
It's just a shame you didn't pick anything that will have a lot of long-term benefit. Maybe a sport you could be professional in, like bowling or something that still has some potential for you down the line. It is funny, though, that you mentioned the thing about the challenge. I have a weight loss bet that's ending on June 1st. I had to lose 10% of my body weight in 2 months, which means for me get down to 189. Pounds. I've been in North America for so long, I forgot about kilos altogether. But basically, I have to get down to 189. I'm currently at 198. We have 10 pounds left with about 3.5 weeks to go. This is my first beer in about a week and a half. But I've been working out so hard because it's now become a short-term goal. Where at the beginning of the bet, I was not motivated whatsoever, having pizza, doing all sorts of stuff. But now that it's creeping up, I'm getting super motivated. So what you're saying, I can totally identify with, because now that it's a short-term goal, I know that I cannot avoid major mess-ups because I need to lose that weight, get down to 189, which would, by the way, be the lowest weight I've ever been as an adult. So it's kind of cool.
Nice.
People in the chat, let us know if you think Mike can do it. Shoot 90 out of 100 free throws at some point this year. And also, if you've been part of any prop bets, let us know in the chat, and we'll definitely analyze those, and we'll give our takes on how we feel your side was and how you did. Shout outs as well to Pat, Darth, Patton, some more people in the chat chiming in. Pat Jablonski is saying golf is the most corona-friendly sport. Well, It probably is if you're all alone on the course, but there's still going to be a lot of people around. A lot of people asking about the stock market. I feel as though, Mike, you're probably the right person to ask. You seem to be chiming in every so often. You and Kane Callis, by the way, seem to be very much involved in that. Are we still short on everything is basically the question that's being asked. Okay,
yeah. So the first thing I'll say, I saw this tweet. Do you know who Su Zhu is or no?
I know the name. I'm not sure if I know who he is, but...
Okay, so he's like I think he's co-founder of a crypto fund. When Pertush was doing his kind of startup, Sue was kind of like his boss or whatnot. Like, it was kind of a startup within their fund kind of thing. He's just one of the kind of prolific guys within crypto. Really smart guy overall. And he had a tweet that really resonated with me from about 3 or 4 months ago, and it basically just says that like older millennials are kind of so jaded from the financial crash that they kind of missed out on a lot of this last rally. And then younger millennials were too young to have any investments during the last financial crash. So they kind of think the stock market can only go up. So, I definitely fit, you like thinking about yourself as, more unique than you are. But as soon as I saw that, it kind of made sense, where for me, I won my EPT, put my money in the market, and like 6 or 7 months later, the stock market crashed kind of thing. The worst crash in 70 years or whatever. So I think for me, I've always been, more of a skeptic about the market than a lot of other people. And I think that's likely a pattern tendency where people who, started their investing in, the 2006 to 2009 range got burned, and people who started their investing in the 2010 onward range kind of think the stock market only goes up. So to answer your question, like I'm definitely way less invested in the stock market than most people. For me, I was relatively fortunate to kind of sell all my stocks somewhat early, like once the market had only dropped like 8% or something. I mean, it's not that much. It's only like 8% lower than that right now. And then I bought back pretty low, like 4% higher than the bottom. But then after like a 15% rally, sold them off. So I hadn't shorted the market. at all early on. You know, I wasn't that confident that coronavirus would blow up. I just kind of exited the market and then kind of exited the market again, you know, once, you know, SPY was like mid 260s. And then, you know, I took up my first short a week ago or so. And it's not a big short, you know, it's something that, you know, I didn't really want, I didn't think price was so ludicrous I had to short. I don't really think I have a big edge to beat markets. You know, it's largely a guess. I was basically in a spot where I think that Bitcoin will go down if stocks go down. And I kind of feel like stocks going down is a reasonably likely outcome. And rather than sell Bitcoin, I just decided, hey, I'll short the market instead as my downside protection. So it was, you know, I'm not saying this was a sane investment strategy, but it was less about me having super high conviction on the stock market decreasing, and more about me having like an aversion to selling Bitcoin. So you know, don't take investment advice from me when it was probably more of a gamble than an investment.
All right, let's jump into the action here. We have Ace-Jack against Kings. Bill Klein in the action against Eric Bonetta, who has pocket kings. People asking in the chat, is this live? Well, the conversation is live, Alex. So we are talking about the game as well as about Mike's life and any questions you might have. But what we're watching is High Stakes Poker Season 7. We're doing that to celebrate the fact that all 7 seasons are now available on PokerGO, and we are bringing back High Stakes Poker. So when this quarantine is over, expect new episodes of High Stakes Poker on PokerGO. We are working really, really hard on that. And of course, that means right now doing absolutely nothing because we're just waiting for this quarantine to end. So we got Ace-Jack against Kings here, 50K in the middle. There's 2 jacks on the board here on the turn, and Bill Klein, of course, hit it. Bill Klein, one of my favorite players to watch. Such a great guy. He donated, by the way, for this session, both his winnings and his losses. So if he were to lose 200K on the session, he would donate 200K to charity. If he would win 200K, he would donate 200K to charity. So basically,
what a boss.
Basically, total end boss. Let's see how this hand plays out.
So what happened before this?
We can go back. Yeah, let's go back.
Yeah, you want to go back just to make sure? Okay.
Let's do it. Let's go back.
All right.
Let's walk through this whole hand.
Just so that I can give better commentary in real time.
Yeah, we've been talking so much that we've kind of forgot about the action, but yeah, let's have a look.
Sorry about that.
I think I lost my audio here on the video, but I hope it's still playing at least.
So who is Bonetta?
Bonetta is a watch dealer. He's like a high-end watch guy.
Cool.
I don't know what just happened to my audio. Well, at least you guys can still see it. That's the most important part. While Mike watches and pays attention, I'm going to try to fix the audio.
What is Phil doing?
King 4.
Oh, wow.
Oh, we just lost our VLC player, but I'm just gonna restart VLC and then we'll be right back with the action. I feel as though if I can't get the audio to work, we might as well restart the whole situation here. Bear with us here, guys. We'll be back at this clip in just a second. I'm just gonna restart this clip here. I think that works. All right, let me resize this so that it fits. The beauty of live. All right, let's see if I can get this to line up correctly. Let's see if I can get the screen share back going. All right, mic is back. Video is back. All right, we got a few technical issues here, but we'll make our way through it. I found the hand. Here we go.
3 ways to the flop.
All right.
Straddle.
5 seconds.
Audio's back.
Gelfand with the straddle.
It's me, right?
Yeah, I wasn't
You're
sure.
right. Thank you.
Couple of kings for Bonetta. Raises to 5,600.
Raise it, 5,600.
Klein picks up ace-jack.
It's this. And
He calls.
over my left shoulder.
Doyle folds. So it folds around to Galfond straddle.
They can't get you when I'm here, they can get you.
And he doesn't want to give it up.
Pretty much. Or one of these. That one. I don't know.
This flop could get Klein in trouble.
After every hand.
Every hand, he just
That's
loves
so
counting his
crazy.
money.
You do it in tournaments too?
Sometimes I go to the safe and unwrap disheveled, unorganized money like Johnny has. I get anxious. And I'm thinking, well, if I could win it, I'll fix it. You know? It's true. The one in front
Nice
looks good,
catch,
that
Bill.
top one with that red thing around it.
Trips on the turn here for Bill.
I like the
Not a bad turn card.
Yeah, but it's not squared away.
It's called a silly band, Phil.
Silly
Come
band,
on,
yeah.
get it
I
right.
thought Rolexes had
10,
good timing.
10, back and forth, all organized. None of the things.
Watch
the
joke
all
there from
edges
Norm.
Out, you know?
Yeah.
It's important.
Why?
Tidy,
Klein strings him along.
We got a pot.
Kings might be literally the last hand you should bet on the turn.
Right.
Let's do a waterfall. I love waterfalls.
Water slides are good too.
Check it.
Are you good at eyeballing how many
That with your money.
how much they're playing? I guess they're a couple hundred effective or whatnot.
I have about
Yeah,
100
every stack
t-shirts.
of
They're
white is
very
about 100K,
organized.
so
And they're all
I think
folded
Bill
this way. I
has
can see
more
this
than
part of
350 in
it.
front of him right
I've
now.
opened the drawer.
The girl that does my laundry
That's
gets yelled
80K.
at frequently when
Pretty-
her
seems
t-shirts
like
aren't
pretty good
perfect
size
in
from,
stacks and styles.
Bill Klein, and then Benetta's turn bet ensures that he'll never win this spot against bluffs or value or anything. He just,
80,000 is bad.
Don't think I'm ahead, but I
You
don't like
gotta go-
folding.
You gotta go looking in the.
I don't have a jack. Then
The funny thing about what he said is basically the quintessential thing that I always say at the table, and I think many people watching are saying as well. I don't think I'm winning, but I also have kings and I can't fold.
yeah.
makes me happier.
You don't block Queen 10. You don't block any clubs.
All I needed to make me happy.
Yeah.
People are saying you look like
Rolex
Bonetta.
is thinking.
Yeah, we've got the same barber.
Talk. Tick. Tock. Tick.
I fold.
Good lay down.
Wow.
Nice hand, Mr. Bill.
Oh my God, 2 kings.
Show him the queen 10.
Yeah, so
There's always a 9, right?
his calling range on the river is probably literally nothing.
Yeah.
He's probably not calling a single hand on the river.
Yeah, it's funny to see that these guys have to respect Bill Klein for the fact that he's not a spaz. He's not someone who's just going to give money away. But then every now and then he can come out bluffing, and I think it's pretty good from Eric there to lay down kings, because I feel like many people are just like, it's kings. If he has it, he has it in these types of games.
Yeah.
And you don't want to get bluffed on TV, by the way, which is a big factor for most people.
I have a bad this I'll just mention this as a embarrassing thing. I always confuse Bill Klein and Roger Sipple, and I know one of them is kind of a loose cannon and one of them is more solid. So it's like between the two of them, I've only played with the subtotal of them maybe 4 times in my life. But I'm always concerned where I know one of them is wild. Is Bill Klein is the tighter one, or
I think Bill Klein's the tighter one. Yeah. If I had to like call one out for being tighter, and I think Klein is probably the safe option.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, we got an epic hand coming up in just a few minutes. Here, look at the stack sizes so everyone can be aware of those going forward. We got Gelfand sitting on 300K, Chan 265, Klein. These are actually ordered by how much they're winning or losing, not by how much they have. Klein sitting on 520, and then you guys can see the rest of the leaderboard. Antonio Esfandiari also sitting on a very large stack. Doyle Brunson there short stacking the old Mike Watson, Mike McDonald style, sitting on 800K, sitting on 80K while they're playing. I think they're playing 400, 800, so 100 big blinds. Very, very short stacked for a game like this.
Wow, buying in for 500K and covering the table makes Klein's strategy of donating everything to charity that much more impressive. It's one thing if he buys in with an average stack, but when he covers everyone, damn, he can have some big swings.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We have an epic moment coming up. That's what I wanted to mention. Phil Galfond about to get involved in a hand that probably is one of the more exciting ones that I've seen in a very long time. I don't think it's this hand. I think it's the next hand. But anyway.
Wow, this is a very not 2011 sizing. Phil 2.2x's it. That's interesting. I guess he just figures his edge is so big at the table, he just wants to play a few more pots with a little less money in on each.
And you can totally see that Gelfand looks so comfortable here playing these stakes. And obviously this is 2011, so he's been at it for quite a while. But for most people watching this on TV, they might be like, who is this young kid just like running over the table?
Yeah, I mean, this is like the easiest game ever. You know, if you go and play like 5 cent, 10 cent on Stars, it's probably a tougher game these days.
What?
Like, you know, this is a really easy game.
Oh my God, that's a great statement.
Gelfand calls.
I mean, 5 cent, 10 cent probably have like 2 bots that are better than Phil or something. I have no idea the state of online poker these days, but regardless, this is a good game.
This is actually, I think, the hand that is
interesting turn cards here.
That is going to get crazy now.
Two
more
more, right?
thousand make you lucky.
Good luck.
You have to look at the flop first, or the turn.
There is an interesting turn card, and it's for Phil Galfond. He makes the nut straight. Klein continues betting his flush draw. Gelfand is grabbing some serious ammo. $67,000.
Phil's small raises are kind of funny.
Wow.
That sends Croak a message.
Because I have to fold.
I guess so, Robert.
Klein doesn't know that if he hits his straight, he'll
Croak?
only chop the pot.
He's an entrepreneur from Florida. He invented the silly bands.
What are silly bands?
It's like these weird bracelets that made him a killing.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Is it like a balance bracelet or something? Or
No, it's a silly band. It's very silly.
Robert
gotcha.
Croak doesn't care who wins this pot.
It's one of those things teenagers were into, I think, like 20 years ago, 15 years ago.
Okay. Fair enough.
Klein calls. Nearly a $200,000 pot now. A disappointing red card for Klein.
Just go all in.
Looks like Klein's creative juices may be flowing.
This is pretty
They
sick
sure
if he's
are.
bluffing here.
He bets $150,000.
Not the best river. Maybe the worst river.
I didn't want to say it out loud. It's what I was thinking.
Klein's trying to represent a full
I
house.
think I was okay. Yeah, I was fine with the spade. 150? How much time left?
Well, it seems this. I mean, obviously, I'm seeing the cards. It feels a little bluffy. It feels like I would be probably more afraid of like 100 or 120 than I would be of 150. Like 150 kind of feels like a good size.
What else could you have called with?
If you don't want to get too wrecked, if you get caught bluffing, but you also want to size it up enough to try to scare him
Gelfand
off.
falls for it.
Nice hand.
Wow, that was
If you were
nasty.
bluffing, which
He shows it.
holy,
Phil's face.
whoa, you're sick.
All right, man.
Nice. That's sick.
Yeah, Tony, before even you are halfway through it, if you were bluffing, this would be a good time to show. Bill knew that. Bill knew the role.
Oh my God.
I've definitely had. I've had probably a couple dozen hands during my career where it's like all you can really think about is how you got sucked out on, and like you're not even really weighing his combos. You just kind of do the, oh my God, I'm folding like a strong absolute value hand. You're not actually thinking, oh shit, this dude might be bluffing 10-6 of spades. Like I would guess just based on the time he took, his mannerisms and such, Phil wasn't even really doing kind of like a combo analysis there. He was more just like, this motherfucker rivered a boat. And it's like I've had a couple dozen or a few dozen hands like that for decent stakes where it's just like you're not even thinking about the hand and like the options. You're just like, this dude has it. and you know, his timing and everything kind of seems to suggest that. It's a sick bluff by Klein.
Let's watch this moment again of the people finding out that he was bluffing, which I think is just an amazing moment from this episode.
It's really.
Holy that's Bill.
Really
You are sick.
Whoa, you're sick.
All right,
You
man.
got one more.
For charity.
Antonio, before even you are halfway through it, if you were bluffing, this would be a good time to show. Bill knew that. Bill knew the ropes. He was like, all right, this is a nice time to show.
All right,
150 with 10 high.
But there was a 9 out there. There was a 9.
Yep.
That's the only reason it made me do it.
Holy
I think Bill Klein has something special going on with the 9s. That's the thing that they're referencing right now. He said he's only doing it because there was a 9 on the table, and I guess pocket 9s are his favorite hand. So he wanted to tell that story in that sort of way. I mean, it's just an amazing bluff. It's just awesome to watch.
Yeah, no, I mean that's an awesome hand. And it's like it's just a hand that I think a lot of people like when you look at the way solvers play hands and stuff. It's like you see some crazy solver hand, you're like, oh, it makes sense. And that's like, this is what the solver does. Like, you know, the solver comes out and just blasts like 2x pot on that river. You know, something like that, where it's just like when you see someone, especially a recreational player, do that 9 years ago, you might have thought it's crazy. And now you just like look at your range versus his range. He has like no queen 10. You have 16 combos of queen 10. He just needs to fight you kind of thing. So, you know, it's pretty, I'm pretty impressed. That's a nice hand.
Yeah, that was a really, really cool hand. Let's see some questions in the chat. Darth is asking, Mike, have you ever played against Norm McDonald?
I have not played against Norm McDonald, no.
All right, well, that's a shame.
I played against Tom McDonald, but I think that's the only McDonald I've played against.
Was that WPT Alpha 8?
Exactly, yeah, and quite a bit online as well. But yeah, the WPT Alpha 8, we got 3-handed.
I'm just a sick human being for just that's the first thing that comes to mind. Patton 270 is asking thoughts on the WSOP happening this fall, and will you play the main event if they organize it in the fall?
It depends, I suppose. Like yeah, I mean, it's probably one of those things where, you know, if I've gotten coronavirus and recovered from it by then, I'll probably play it. But yeah, I don't know. It seems to me like it's a reasonably risky thing to do. And it's, you know, even for me, just, you know, I've probably been more cautious than most people, but, you know, I've just been like somewhat agitated out in public. You know, I wouldn't want to travel to a country and risk like borders getting closed or something like that. So if basically I don't know what the fall will look like, if it seems like they're chancing it, I won't play it. If it seems like it's just the, you know, reasonable and expected decision that it runs, then I probably will play it. You know, it's really tough to speculate on kind of what the world will look like in 6 months. I think there's a wide range of outcomes. Like I think that there are, you know, I think a lot of people like me who are kind of like, you know, coronavirus, you know, sky is falling type guys early on were, you know, a lot of people, it's tough to kind of admit, hey, this thing just, it's not as lethal as everyone originally expected. And, you know, that could change over time. Things could mutate or whatnot. But like, there's totally an environment where we've basically all already had it. And for some reason, you know, 97% of us are asymptomatic, or, you know, like you just don't know that much about this thing. And as time goes on, we'll kind of learn more. But yeah, so I would say that if I were to bet on it, the chances that both A, the World Series runs, and B, I play it is maybe about 10% or something like that, maybe somewhere in that range.
Right.
It's funny I say that. We're just yesterday. I was, or not just yesterday, maybe 4 days ago, I was telling my roommate about how everyone always says things are 10% when they have no clue. Like, 10% probably usually means 2% and sometimes means 47%. But, 10% really means a wide range of outcomes. So basically, I just think it's unlikely, but possible.
Yeah, I sort of feel the same. We'll have to wait and see. That's probably the best sort of thing. Here in Nevada, in Vegas, they're talking about reopening certain things. Well, I'm not going near any places that have a lot of people in the next couple of months. When that second wave hits, I'll just still be home, and then we'll see how things recover, and then maybe we'll be all good by the fall. So it's it's a very strange situation, and I hope everybody who's watching is staying healthy at home and enjoying the show, because obviously we're just here to provide some entertainment during these strange times. Watching season 7 of High Stakes Poker. If you're just tuning in, this is all available on PokerGo. Mike and I are having a drink. We're taking your questions, whatever we want to do. We just watched a sick bluff by Bill Klein. If you want to skip back in the broadcast to watch that, it's definitely worth it. He put it in Gelfand's face, which I love seeing. It's just incredible. Mitch is saying no WSOP in 2020. We can speculate back and forth. There's definitely an outcome or situation in which that ends up being the case. But yeah, up until the time that it actually gets canceled, it's still possible that it's going to happen. Keith is asking, Mike, do you ever play live in Calgary at all?
I've played. Okay, so in my life, I've played in Calgary maybe 4 times. And then probably 2 of those kind of since I've retired. I guess to kind of go through a bit of my sort of background in Calgary. When I was 18 in particular, you can't even play in most Canadian provinces. You can't play in Ontario. I think you can't play in BC as well. You can play in Quebec and you can play in Alberta. So when I was 18, I went out and played that 5K heads up that they had in Calgary. That was, maybe the second tournament I played after winning my EPT. Hung out, played a series there, met some people that I've stayed friends with and whatnot. And that was my first time playing. And then I went out and played that same series one other time. I think that was after they had gotten rid of the 5K heads up and turned it into a 2K main event. So I played 2 series out here, a decade ago or more. And then kind of since then I've played, I think I played a 2K. I think it was at Grey Eagle. Basically I've played two random tournaments. I think it was both between a 1 and 2.5K buy-in over the last couple of years. I think they were both in 2017. I think that if we ever get to a point that live poker is a safe thing to do, I find it pretty fun. Like for me, when we were talking earlier about cash play versus tournament play, I like kind of playing simple poker, I suppose. Play someone who's not as serious about the game or intimidated by the stakes or whatnot, and just try to really, rather than try to think I want to go beat the best players, try to think like, hey, I want to beat the worst players as badly as I can. And something like a 1K in Calgary, I think, is a good opportunity for that. If we ever go back to a spot where there are these tournaments, playing a couple of random 1K and 2Ks and stuff, I find that quite fun. I've probably played, since I've kind of stopped playing 4 years ago, I've probably played about 9 tournaments since that time. And I've just kind of had a blast in almost all of them. It's definitely fun, especially when you're kind of playing irregularly. And I don't really stress myself out the way that I used to. I still have hands, a decade later that I regret playing bad and, things like that. And now that I just kind of play for fun, it's a much easier environment where I kind of expect to play bad, I suppose. So it's kind of, easier, emotionally kind of better mindset when you come in, not just expecting the most from yourself. I'll probably play some tournaments in Calgary.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's definitely a funny thing you say that. And also the way you put it makes a lot of sense to me, because I also play for fun. And then whenever I do play, I just get so excited. Like, when I go play the $200 Saturday tournament at the Wynn, that's my main event. That's awesome. That's so exciting. And I think a lot of people in the chat can relate to this. When you get out to your local casino, whether it's once a week or once a month, that moment when you go there and you have chips you're riffling with and, let the record show, I'm always riffling chips, even when I'm just sitting by my laptop.
Nice.
That is just one of those things that, as poker fans and players, it doesn't matter how big the stakes are. You play at your level and you just have fun with it. And I think it's an awesome thing that you still, even after all these years, have that feeling when you sit down and you get excited about playing.
Yeah, no, I mean, so for me, I recently won my first tournament in 3 years. I played that ACR charity tournament. Phil was, asking me if I wanted to play. So I played it, and I played maybe 4 or 5 online tournaments on the side. And then I won some like $300 tournament on Party. And, I haven't won a tournament in, multiple years. And just kind of getting down, see, you snuck in the money. Okay, you're building up a stack, getting to the final table. It was, you could play, 24 sessions and not win a tournament or whatnot. But it was a nice reminder of like, oh shit, there's 6 left, there's 5 left, there's 4 left. It was pretty fun. And like when you're playing it regularly, it's it's a good motivator when just like kind of when you get back in and go play a bit.
Let's see where this hand goes, by the way.
More than that.
Like 360.
Oh yeah, you have it. Okay, you haven't covered them. Okay.
Yeah, he had you covered.
So this is hijack cutoff, I guess. That's about right. Yeah.
It looks like it, yeah.
Gelfand calls. Gutter ball for Antonio. Gelfand checks.
I have no idea how this pot gets big.
I don't know if it gets big, but I'm curious to see how it plays out.
Fair, yeah. Check 10 on the turn or something.
Antonio says, I've got it.
14,200.
Oh, shit.
Gelfand says, do you really?
37,000.
Yeah, that's some street poker right there. That's
Yeah, give me your thoughts on this spot right here. And Antonio here lays it down. Gelfand calls the 3-bet out of position and then check raises the flop. That very much hits the range of someone, I guess, calling a 3-bet out of position, or is that a wrong way to look at it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it probably hits it more than the 3-better. I don't think there's any offsuit hands he has that connect it all well, and I think it hits him better. If it was a tad bit higher, it would have hit him a lot better. I also think it's one of those things where, like Antonio, especially in this era, I think was probably c-betting a lot more than most people would. I don't think he's quite like a Barry Greenstein or anything like that, but he's probably, I have no idea. Like if a solver tells you c-bet that board 40%, I would guess he's c-betting like 90% or something, where it's like, for me, I've often, I'll take those boards and I'll check raise them when I have like at least an okay combo. You have like 4, so you've got a gutter, or you just have like a little bit of equity more than you expect. You've got a nice backdoor flush draw or whatnot, but it's just like the fact he just check raised with nothing, I think is just so reasonable against an opponent that you think is too c-bet heavy. And even if he is c-betting queens there, 1, you can make the best hand, and 2, he can like fold at some point. There's a lot of bad runouts for him. So yeah, I think especially if he has kind of any sort of reason to believe that Antonio is a little underweight on suited connectors, like he has too many queen jack off type hands and too few 8-6 suited type hands. Yeah, I mean, I just think that's a great check raise, and something that kind of throughout me playing poker, I think I didn't do nearly enough when I have the right confidence against my opponent.
And this also, to take it to the turn, in case Antonio calls, is this a situation where only if the turn card is within the range of the flop, so a low card, that's when he's going to keep blasting and he's going to give up on every single high card? Of course, unless it's an ace. Yeah,
like probably diamond, ace, 7-9 are the cards where you're at least considering going 4, I guess, as well. But yeah, I think he's basically just trying to, fold out ace king, king queen, stuff like that. Yeah, I think that's kind of the approach he was taking there. I can't say for certain, but yeah, I think it's just kind of and yeah, even if he does continue, you still have other opportunities to bluff. The turn can come at 3 of diamonds, and you can check and value bet, or make it look like you're value betting river. You don't just need to just bomb all those cards or anything like that. So he can have a lot of ways to win the pot on other runouts without just going blast and potentially losing his whole stack when he runs into 9-7 or a set or something.
Right, and we are watching the Phil Galfond show. He's playing by far the most hands of any player in this session right now. He's going up against Doyle, who probably is eager to get some money back from Gelfand.
Flush draw for Gelfand, and he's got a gut shot too.
That is 4,500.
Gelfand bets his draw. Doyle calls. Gelfand hits his flush, and Doyle now has the nut flush draw.
I think I see the button in front of Antonio, or
yeah. Doyle's like straddle or something.
Or 8,000.
As advertised, 8,000.
Is Doyle gonna raise? Oh man. Wow.
Doyle picks a bad time to represent a flush.
I love poker.
30,000 more.
I mean, it's I don't know if it's the exact right board for it, but there are a lot of spots here where that small bet on the turn is very value heavy, but weak value heavy. I don't think this is one of those spots, but I think this idea of kind of turning your second pair into a bluff with outs to try to knock out, an ace jack or something. I think there are some similar type spots where this really makes a lot of sense. I think this is a spot where when Phil goes under half pot, he's weighted more toward weak than strong, but
yeah, and just so people know, Gelfand,
Phil 3-betting there seems a little ridiculous.
But Phil,
I guess he just didn't want to stack off if he ran into a bigger flush or something.
Well, Phil goes all in, and Doyle only has 80,500
total. Okay, that's different then. Never mind. Okay, I mean that's much more reasonable. I was picturing it as a deeper pot, and he just like clicked it or something. But okay, that's much finer. It's probably still supposed to just be a call, but that makes it more reasonable.
But there's no scenario in which Doyle can then profitably call here for his last, 42K? 42.
I mean, he can
into 136.
Oh, interesting. So he has. Can we see his chips? So he only has 42,500.
Well, so Gelfand goes all in, and that means that the total raise is to 80,500. So Doyle needs to call 42,000 to be all in this pot, which seems to me as though the flush draw alone might be worth it.
So in I can't really comment on this show in particular, but in my experience, the chip counts are so regularly wrong. Can we just move a couple seconds and just try to eyeball how many chips Doyle has just to make sure? Because if it's 42.5, you should probably just call off. If you're ever up against an ace 10 or something like that, you just have so much.
This is the best they can probably do. That looks like 50. I mean, it looks like 7. I mean, it looks right. It looks like it's right.
Yeah, it seems about right. Yeah, I mean, I haven't done equity calculations in a while, but you probably call where it's if you're up against a flush, you probably lose $7,000, and if you're up against anything that's not a flush, you have so much equity. And it's I guess. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. Also, it's definitely possible. Phil Telbox did a little bit where it's where if Phil was too quick to go all in, you can likely deduce he doesn't have an ace 10 or something, and the ace 10 type combos are the ones you really want to see if you're calling off here.
So yeah, Gelfand goes all in on Doyle folds.
22, 32, 35.
Doyle's wishing he'd just called instead of check raised.
You can hear him do math out loud, which is kind of cool.
Instead of check raised.
15 to 30.
That's funny.
And he knows he wasn't getting the right price.
I mean,
Yeah, it's not a bad price if Phil has, you know, a set or, you know, a king 10 or something like that.
right.
King 10. The king 10 is pretty unlikely, I guess, but
Back to the
it's
people.
interesting for sure.
Back to the people in the chat. Shout out to Victor on Facebook. Thank you for telling us this is a good show. We appreciate it. People in the chat, let us know, where are you watching from? What questions do you have for Mike McDonald? Are you enjoying it? And what other content would you like to see on Run It Back? We do this once a week. We have a drink. We watch some poker. We take some questions. And most of all, we entertain you guys with some action during the quarantine. So let us know where you're watching from and if you're enjoying the show. People on Facebook are asking, or on Twitter, maybe this is YouTube. This is YouTube. Yes, let me see. I saw a question here earlier that I found interesting. Oh, yeah. Patton is asking, I'm seeing things about 4max Live Poker. What are your thoughts? Mike, 4max Live Poker, Timothy Adams has a bracelet in it. Is it really going to take off now?
I mean, that would be interesting for sure. I mean, poker's already, you know, for the casino, like the worst game in the casino per square foot. And then if they go and have that, it's certainly, you know, I would like say 4max poker becomes the norm. I think you'll just see more poker rooms shutting down. You know, that sounds a little cynical, but you know, I think a lot of what goes on within a casino is more about just giving the customer the optics of what they expect to see in a casino. Like you make all your money on slot machines and all this other shit is like a loss leader so that you don't just feel like you're some huge degenerate while you're playing on your slot machines. Like I think if you were to look through the financials of how places do off of their poker room, it's not very good, but you do well off of other things because you have a poker room. Like you get some whale coming in, dust off 100K, you raked him $200 before he loses the stack kind of thing. So it's not that good for the casinos. And then especially if you have tables be, you know, 4max and stuff like that. Okay, now you need twice as many tables, twice as many dealers to accommodate the same number of people. So, you know, we'll see what happens. I mean, I think like on a kind of micro level, 4max is so cool, but on like a macro level, I would almost be like more fearful of that because I don't really think casinos will be excited about that.
I mean, and also for the people who are watching and who are reading about 4max poker, if you've ever played a hand of live poker in a Vegas cash game, as soon as your 9-handed table gets 7-handed, people start asking for players. They're like, oh, we're getting short-handed. We need more players. So imagine 4max. Imagine the old ladies and the retired gentlemen playing 4max poker. It's just not going to happen. It is absolutely never going to happen. I think there's no way in which this is going to happen. Oh, wait, we have Johnny Chan in the hand. We haven't said his name all night here on the show. We might as well take this opportunity to scroll back in time to see what actually
what the hell is he like 4-betting 5s or something?
All right, let's see what this is what's happening here. This is
Widely known around the world than
Chan
Texas
King.
itself.
Like you do.
Mr. Chan with Big Slick, sneakily just limping in.
I wish I had more money.
Me too.
You wish Phil had more money?
Antonio says, let me take advantage of that weak call and raises.
I'd rather have my money.
Rolex calls.
But I'd rather have more of it.
I'll take Bill's money over all your guys' money.
Yeah, I want Bill. I'll take Bill.
I'll take anyone over me.
So does Klein.
Yeah, Chan limps under the gun with Ace King after not having played a single hand in the last hour that we've watched.
Brunson's calling 7-6 off in the small here.
I forgot you were still here. That's tight.
Chan says party's over.
Beware the Golden Emperor, boys.
So if I was watching this in real time, I would have thought like, wow, what like an overbet from Chan. But it's like he was ahead of the time. This is like probably like about the right sizing. You know, you in turn see guys make it 13K here or something like that. But this is a good sizing by him.
And re-raises Johnny.
Wow. Wow.
What the hell?
Looks like this party's giving Johnny Chan a hangover.
This was after one drop, I'm presuming?
No, the year before.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
He decides to leave.
What?
5 block, corner pocket.
5 of diamonds.
Wow.
Well, Johnny knows now he left too
God.
early.
Yes, thank you.
There's likely something.
5 of diamonds, kid. That's how you do it, huh? Don't forget.
I don't know what's going on there. That's that's something.
Johnny Chan the Master, as they call him. He hasn't played a hand, gets ace king, limp re-raises and folds to a 4-bet. I mean, it's probably one of the weirdest ways I've seen ace king played in a very long time.
Yeah, there are definitely dynamics where you can make some big folds of ace king, but it's that's not one of them. Wow.
And it's not like he's not deep or anything. He's sitting on a big stack too.
I definitely
There's always a chance that the big stack is kind of what scares him. Like, if it's, he doesn't want to risk, like, flop comes king high and lose 400 grand or, something like that. I think there are some spots where it's like you're more comfortable just like sticking it in for 120K or whatever with ace king, but you don't want to risk losing like $1 million pot or something if you get cooler, where you're probably not going to win at showdown without hitting an ace or king. And if you do hit an ace or king and the money keeps going in, if you're just going to be kind of nervous. So I can understand how, in some similar types of spots, the depth is what scares him, I guess.
Right. But let's play the game of what would you have done in that situation as far as...
I just call.
Call?
I think that I think I wouldn't have a 5 betting range there, but that's maybe wrong. If I think he's strong, I might just 5 bet a range of just aces as an exploit or whatnot. But it's just I don't know. I just call.
It's interesting. Yeah, definitely Johnny Chan, not someone who I've seen splash around ever on a big cash game. So perhaps, like you said, he is scared of the big stack, scared of playing deep pots, which, is a very good argument to be made for that. I mean, money is very deep, and Antonio is sitting on a massive stack too, so they could have easily gotten in if they wanted to and played a 900K pot, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like anybody, makes enough at poker that they can go lose an 800K pot on this show and not have it affect their, graph for the year kind of thing. So, it's everybody's playing above, what they're used to, I think.
And Croak here betting 10K with ace queen, having missed, and Chan makes the nuts, and of course then he's eager to get some money in the middle. Ian in the chat, shout out to you, Ian. Thanks for watching, really appreciate it. Joe Ince is saying limp re-raise is always an old school move for some reason. In my opinion, limp re-raise was always aces, right?
I've seen a lot of aces. Yeah, a lot of limp raise of aces, that's for sure.
Limp raising, do we still do that these days? Is that still a thing? Are we balancing by doing that?
I've never been much of a limp raiser. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever limp raised.
Wow.
In my life. Yeah.
Wow, we found a hole in your game. You're not a limp raiser.
I know. I might have. I mean, blind versus blind, lots of limp raises. A few weird spots. 3-handed in a tournament where you limp the button and limp raise. Things like that. But I think a lot of people were were mixing in kind of limp raising kind of mid 2010s. And I just was never doing it. I just kind of figured, hey, a raise only strategy is pretty good. And I'm not that, I still feel like there's a lot of holes in my game and all my opponent's games with a raise only strategy. Let's just kind of focus on patching up those holes rather than add another dimension with some limping and limp folding, limp raising, limp calling. So, even if that could possibly be more precise, I just never really fucked with it. So I've most of my limping has probably been misclicks and stuff like that.
Shout out here, by the way, and I paused it for a very specific reason. Shout out to coronavirus. Shout out to Phil Laak putting beef jerky on the rail of the poker table. This made me laugh. Look, he's putting snacks out on the table.
Oh!
I mean, come on. Like in this era nowadays, if someone...
Oh, God, that's savage. That is... Oh, man, that was like... So it's like for me, I've always been like almost like an anti-germaphobe, but that's just disgusting. You know, I think
look, he's eating them from the rail. He's like, they're sitting on the rail in front of him, and he's eating them, and he's wiping away the crumbs.
See, this is why we can't play the WSOP. You know, it's like all of the most savage people in the universe are the ones who are going to come out and play the WSOP this year, and it's just like you just can't do it. You know, if it's 0.001% of people have it, those are going to be the 0.001% who play the WSOP. Holy shit!
I mean,
yeah, eating food off the rail, that's next level.
I once saw a guy eat a salad with his hands. That's my highlight of live poker.
So you know who that is, right?
Well, that's a different video, but I saw a guy also, and this was, I think, at the Venetian, and this is like maybe 10 years ago. I saw a guy eat a what's it called? Like the salad that comes with like the olive and onion, like a Greek salad. Sorry, wow,
okay, yeah.
A Greek salad. Like, so you have like chunks of stuff, chunks of feta, olives, big pieces of onion. He was literally eating it with his hands.
Okay, gotcha. Because okay, so that it's crazy that's like a pattern thing. I've never seen it in person, but yeah, the video, that's like the guy who's like the head of the Canadian Poker Tour. What? You know, he plays all the Calgary or maybe not these days, but like that. Yeah, back in the day, he was like always the guy that would invite me out and stuff. So as soon as I saw that video, I'm like, holy shit, I know that guy. And then it's just it just top tier savagery. It just puts Phil Laak to shame.
I cannot imagine. The clip that you're talking about is even more disturbing than what I saw, because this guy was licking his fingers while eating a salad at the table. You don't even want to ever picture that. That's disgusting. I've played drunk mixed games before. This is at Caesars, I believe, where I was really craving something savory. I went to get a bag of chips, and I also got chopsticks from the sushi restaurant, and I was eating chips with chopsticks, and I was so proud of myself, because eating chips while handling chips is probably one of the dumbest ideas you can possibly have.
Yeah, no, it's a good way. It's definitely a good way to get sick. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. People in the chat, thanks so much for the shout outs. Daniel joining us. It's so hard to pronounce all these names. You guys should come up with more creative stuff that's easier to say. Al-Madist is saying, Esfandiari and Laak rivalry makes the best TV. I do agree that when they go up against each other in the table talk and stuff, it's really fun to watch. But I feel like Antonio sometimes also lays it on there so thick that it seems as though he's trying too hard.
Yeah, I haven't watched. I can't comment too much. I haven't watched that much live poker in a while, and I watched a lot of the televised cash games, kind of 2005 to 2007 or whatnot. But even kind of the later seasons of PokerGo, haven't seen as much. I remember their I Bet You show and stuff like that.
Right.
I'm a bit out of touch with that kind of their dynamic, I suppose.
I love I Betcha. That was a great show. And right now, Antonio has trips against Bonetta's nut flush.
Antonio knows he can only beat a bluff now.
Made a flush on me, huh, Alex?
He looks terrified.
How many angles do you keep trying to go? I'm not gonna turn my hand over.
Funny enough, this, by the way, in this town, is allowed. It's not a call. That's forward motion.
First of all, I never went forward.
I know that.
I went to the side.
I know that.
I didn't say you went.
I'm not in the hand. I'm not saying
I pulled an angle. I don't think I pulled an angle. I'm just trying to get a read. I think that's allowed.
Read angle, same thing.
Sorry, what happened here?
So Antonio grabs one of his 50K bricks, and he basically like grabs it into this one hand, moves it to the other hand, and then Eric is sort of like insinuating that he's angle shooting. We can go back and see.
Gotcha.
I didn't think it was that blatant, but it's clear that it's one of those live poker tricks. It's happening. Happening right here.
Alex.
Watch Antonio's hands. That's okay, right?
How many angles do you keep trying to go? I'm not gonna turn my hand over.
Funny enough, this, by the way, in this town, is allowed. It's not a call. That's forward motion.
First of all, I never went forward.
I know that.
I went to the side.
I know that.
I didn't say you went.
I'm not in the hand. I'm not
I
saying
pulled an angle. I don't think I pulled an angle. I'm just trying to get a read. I think that's allowed.
Read angle, same thing.
Antonio makes the right decision.
Checking the turn.
All right, let us know in the chat if you think that was allowed or that's somehow a little bit across the line from Antonio trying to get a read. I mean, what are you really allowed to do in order to get a read? People in the chat also asking, isn't this old? Yes, it is old. This is High Stakes Poker Season 7, 2011, just before Black Friday. We are bringing High Stakes Poker back on PokerGo, and we are celebrating that by watching High Stakes Poker here as Mike McDonald joins me here for this watch party. So, Mike, how far can we go with an angle like this?
I mean, I think that I don't know.
Nice answer.
Thank you.
Can you?
I'm not Antonio's biggest fan, and I am unsurprised to see that.
Right.
I guess. Yeah.
But have you ever like grabbed chips and then put them back, that sort of thing, or are you always sort of stoic, waiting to make your decision?
Well, I mean, so it's definitely different where, like. I feel like in tournaments, like the rules are kind of more strict than in cash games, if that makes sense. Like in cash games, it's like there are all these things that are up for interpretation, and you can kind of, there's no getting a 1 round penalty and losing 10% of your stack or anything like that. So the kind of the risk reward associated with these things is much different, and especially in tournaments, you kind of like they're televised, you get reputation if you do shit like that and whatnot. So it's like I definitely touch chips in hands that I play, but I think in these I think that was like way more blatant than anything. Like just definitely kind of take some chips off your stack and shuffle them or whatnot. But it's like that. Yeah, I mean, especially against one of the recreational players or whatnot, it seems like a bit much.
Right. I agree with you. People in the chat chiming in as well. Joe saying Antonio does this stuff a lot in cash games. Mike Chan says it's fine. Depp is saying if that's allowed, forward motion shouldn't be a rule. More people are saying the same thing. So the people are sort of split down the middle on this. Andres is saying normal, not cheating at all. Scotty Wynn style. I mean, that's a character, Scotty Wynn. Here's Doyle. Blinded down to 28,000 and now goes all in against Bonetta with the pocket aces.
There's always a 9. There's always a 9.
You're not in the hand.
That's pretty sick.
Nice hand, Doyle.
Of course, I wouldn't have got action if I put that other 200 up anyway.
Is there any merit to Doyle not topping up his stack? Like why do you think he's doing this? Because obviously he's been playing super high stakes for decades.
I mean, just because you've been playing super high stakes for decades doesn't mean you have 200 grand in your pocket, kind of thing.
Right.
So like there's definitely room for that. There's also just like you look at how this game's playing. You have people just like overcalling raises with such dog shit hands. There's a lot of room to just be that guy with 35 big blinds or 15, 20 big blinds after a straddle and just ship over a raise and a couple calls. So as someone who's been a short stacker myself, I can definitely understand how there can be some merits there, even if you do have 5 buy-ins in your pocket or something like that. But I think the most likely thing is that it's often a bit of a headache to kind of move money around and things like that. He doesn't want to be driving down the highway with like $1 million in cash or something like that. So there's depending on what like the systems are like to actually get money in the games, for all he just like doesn't have a rebuy on him kind of thing. So that could definitely play a role, even if he thinks it's more profitable to rebuy.
For the people confused in the chat, it's Norm McDonald, the famous comedian, doing commentary on the show, and it's Mike McDonald joining me here on the show with a lot less hair. Quarantine rules. Look at my quarantine hair. How strong is that? I haven't had a haircut in like 10 weeks, and it's still looking so strong. I'm so proud of myself. Anyway,
that's impressive. That's very impressive.
I think I go to a really good place because clearly if 10 weeks in it still looks good, that means that you're going to the right place. I think this might be Antonio and Eric talking about that exact hand. Don't think it's all too intriguing to listen back to this whole segment. We'll take more questions from the chat if you guys have anything else to discuss or ask us to bring up here. Let's say Harry is asking Mike, do you feel proud running deep in any tournament or winning a lot in cash games? So compare the two, winning big in cash games or making a big run in the tournament.
I mean, so I guess the one thing I'll say, which like maybe is an unpopular opinion, like my poker results have never really made me proud, if that makes sense. Where it's like, you show, like, I'm much more proud when I feel I've just, absolutely owned a good professional kind of thing. That's kind of, those are the hands where I feel like I have something in my game that allows me to win, when some other, talented, hardworking professional has something in their game that leads to them losing. That makes me pretty proud. But on a day-to-day level, it's hard to really be too proud about anything that happens at the poker table when it's mostly luck kind of thing. So I've never gotten too proud of what I do at the tables, I guess.
Let me slightly rephrase the question. What's more exciting? Running up a massive
tournaments for sure. Tournaments by a landslide.
So if you could pick, like winning a 1K for 200K, or winning 200K in a cash game where that maybe, let's say it's 300 big blinds, you would always pick the tournament win.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I'd take, like if you have like say 10th place is the most depressing place to finish in the tournament, like 10th place for 200 grand is probably more exciting than, leaving a cash game and breaking everyone at the table and winning 200 grand. I find tournaments just so much more exciting. Even the spots where, you have a deep run where you come up short or whatnot. I much prefer tournaments.
Right. So, this is the perfect question for people in the chat. Same question to you guys. What's more exciting? Running deep in a tournament, having a nice score, or for the equivalent money, running over the table in your local cash game and completely embarrassing the players at your table? Both are fun, don't get me wrong, but I definitely lean to tournaments as well, just because of the competitive edge of knocking people out. And sometimes I usually just drive through the casino here. I live close to the Green Valley Ranch Casino. Just play the nightly $20 rebuy tournament just to have that little itch of going deep in a tournament. 2 tables, you're deep pretty quickly. Final 4, my juices are flowing. I don't care how much the buy-in is. It's just always fun to play against. John G is saying, once seen a guy announce all in without cards, and another guy flopped his cards over. Best angle I ever saw. So the guy wasn't even in the hand, said he was all in, which I think is kind of funny. Fadi is asking, Mike, what's the toughest opponent you've ever played against, and why?
I think I played a couple sessions against Russ Hamilton back in the day.
Oh, wow.
So,
that's a throwback.
It doesn't get much tougher than Russ Hamilton.
For the people unaware, he was the guy behind Ultimate Bet and the super user scandal. Pot Ripper, I believe, was the handle, and the various other ones.
He had a bunch.
As far as people that weren't cheating, who were some of the players that you sort of feared most at the table?
Sure. Early on, pre-2010, would have definitely been Phil Ivey. It was always kind of the guy in poker, someone I was always, intimidated by. And then kind of poker, sort of progressed, I'd say, there's several people, always thought Dan Smith, always thought Fedor, Dan Coleman.
While you think, let me address some of the people in the chat. If you want to watch this without us talking, go to PokerGo right now and watch all 7 seasons of High Stakes Poker. This is a watch party, so you guys can ask questions. We go back and forth. We banter. We watch High Stakes Poker. But if you want to watch this in peace and solitude with your own friends at home or your family during quarantine, go to PokerGo right now. Watch it all. It's right there for you. Any more names there for the list, Mike?
I'm sure if I were to go, because in different years it would have been different people. Poker moves so fast that, who are the best players in 2010 versus 2012 versus 2014? There have definitely been some people that have kind of had, quite sort of long careers on top. And then some other guys who have, kind of had shorter stints, but being a clear number one for a shorter stint, it really varies. I suppose that's just kind of like a couple names there. If I were to kind of think through it, like there's a little bit to be said that as poker's gotten tougher, the better players play kind of quite similar to each other. Phil Ivey in 2009 played so different from other good players in 2009 that it was a much more of a distinction than in 2015 the number one player versus number 15 player kind of thing. So yeah, it's I think early days Phil Ivey kind of stands out more than the kind of more recent
right
better players in the modern era, I suppose.
Exactly. People are saying in the chat as well they would love to see Stephen Chidwick on High Stakes Poker. I definitely agree. I think it would be awesome to have a cool blend of the new wizards as well as some old school characters on the show. And I think also when people know it's High Stakes Poker, there's cash on the table, and it's this type of TV setup, even someone like Chidwick might even open up and be, more talkative than when he's going deep in a 100K tournament. That's obviously a bit of a different spot than playing a cash game.
And Chidwick's a good example of someone who most of his success came kind of after I left poker, which is kind of, one of the reasons I didn't really kind of mention his name, where it's just, I've always thought of him as, as a very good player. But I do also think there's a little bit of kind of like X Factor type, swagger you have when you're the guy who's been winning final tables. If you look through his kind of poker resume, 2016 or earlier, he was always the guy getting 4th place, 7th place or whatnot. He persisted, kept working hard, and now has, turned that around in the last couple of years. He's, likely the best tournament player there is right now. But there's a little bit to be said where I think when you're down to 11 people in a tournament, if when you get down to the final 11, if Fedor's come first place 5 of his last 10 attempts, and Steve Chidwick hasn't gotten top 2 in his last 10 attempts or whatnot, it's just like even if the decisions they're making are similar, kind of the composure you carry yourself with at high stakes when you've been the guy who's been winning, I think is a fairly large factor when all these things kind of happen in a vacuum. So I think there's a little bit to be said that I think it sounds so stupid or whatnot, but just the fact that Steve's been winning the last couple of years, I think has helped a good bit as far as, the whole field being intimidated by him more than they would have been, 4+ years ago.
We got a fun hand here coming up with Gelfand 3-betting with 4-3 suited from the small blind after Phil Laak made a 2.5K with pocket 7s. Just want to let the people in the chat know, Harry, yes, I will bring up the famous jacks against 3s hand that Mike played against Jamie Gold. We will talk about that. We'll also talk about Mike's stare down after this hand, so please stay tuned for that. And then if you have any more questions in the chat, please send them in right now. Last chance for questions. Let's watch if this hand goes anywhere between Gelfand and Laak.
The small blind with 4-3 of spades. Laak calls.
Who has the button?
Chan had it.
Talented Phil versus Lucky Phil. Let's see who comes out ahead.
No, because of the money.
Bets 13,500.
Talented Phil bets 13,500. Laak says, talented or not, here I come.
Here comes the info raise.
Raises to $40,200.
This is one of those
Phil Laak's gonna lose this pot.
I mean, this is like one of those no game plan type raises, right? Of like, I'm just gonna raise because I don't know what to do. Is that sort of how you think about it?
Yeah, I think so. And it's like, this is the type of thing that, I don't know. I think that this is likely just going to lead to Phil losing a pot he should have otherwise won. From Phil Laak losing a pot he should have otherwise won.
I'm all in.
Welcome to High Stakes Poker.
God, that was beautiful.
If I couldn't see the cards, I would think this was set over set.
I'm probably beat.
It's 7s against 4s, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow. I love Phil Galfond.
Oh, you got aces, huh? Kings or aces?
I hope he shows.
I can't call. I don't think I can call. Bet, raise. All right, you win.
Please show.
Great time for a bluff, Phil. Great
Ace
time.
king. Felt like ace
Great
king.
time. Just like a blank 4.
Great spot to show 3.
Exactly. Come on, Phil. Do it. Yes.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes, he does it.
You show 4 or 3?
Only because he said blank 4.
He showed the 4.
Oh, he showed the 4.
Turned the 4
Okay,
over
gotcha.
like he had a set, but it was indeed a blank 4.
Wow. I mean, Phil Galfond is just a absolute genius. I love it. I love the fact that he plays his game and he's been in high stakes poker for a while, like high stakes poker as in playing high stakes for a while leading up to this point. But still, you know, just seeing him do this is just awesome. I just love seeing it. Let's dive into the questions here a little bit. Let's tackle the oldest one first here. I think it was Harry. Yeah, Harry asked, please tell the story of the famous Jacks versus 3-hand versus Jamie Gold. Obviously, for the people unaware, I'm sorry I can't show the footage right now of that hand, but I'm just going to go out and guess this was the 2008 World Series of Poker Europe main event, 10K pound buy-in, which was maybe, what, 17K US back in those days. You get into an interesting situation where, how old are you? 18, 19 years old?
Yes, that was actually the 2007 World Series of Poker Europe main event, and it was a 20 or 21K USD buy-in. Like that was the all-time high for the pound, pretty much, and it was on my 18th birthday. Yeah.
Wow. So your 18th birthday, you're playing one of the biggest main event buy-ins ever. This event ultimately won by Annette Oberstadt, who wasn't much older than you. Walk us through what happened and the emotions of the moment and how you look back on it now.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, it was exciting getting to play a tournament. You know, as mentioned earlier, I already played high stakes online a fair bit, but this was kind of my first, first serious, live event. And I've been looking forward to this for a while. Some friends had been having success in live events, so it was just nice to finally get to be able to go play that stuff. And then I played for a few hours. I got coolered really hard one hand. Like I got up to something like 1.5 times starting stack. And then on an ace 5-3 2 club board, I ran 4-2 into 4-2 of clubs and he hit the flush. So that was, so then that got down to under 3/4 of starting stack or something like that. Got chipped up a little bit and then got moved to the TV table, with Jamie Gold, Kenny Tran.
In a very cramped Empire Casino, by the way.
Yeah, it's clearly not made for that size of event or whatnot. But yeah, so went down. I think they hosted starting days across 3 different casinos. Like you'd have 10 or 15 tables at each of 3 casinos or something like that. And I wasn't even old enough to play 1A. I had to play a day 1B. And yeah, I mean, got moved to that table. Was there for maybe like an hour, and then lost that hand to Jamie.
Yeah, so you lose that hand against Jamie, who gets very lucky on you. You have the jacks, he has the 3s. I believe he hit a 3 on the river. Is that you got all in on the flop? That's what it was?
All in on the flop. I think it was the turn, but I'm not sure.
Right.
So someone probably knows in chat.
And he was
I think it was turn.
He was celebrating as if he had won the main event again, which was awesome too. You must carry that moment with a lot of pride right now because it's one of those moments that everybody still sort of remembers you by.
Yeah, I mean, when it was going on, I had no idea the hand would even get shown on TV, let alone that, the first televised hand I ever played would be kind of my most talked about hand, 13 years later or whatnot. So that was, just kind of funny. And it's, it's just something, people still troll me about it so much after the fact, but yeah, it was a funny hand.
Harry is also asking, were you intimidated at all by Jamie Gold in that moment playing your first live event?
No, I'm very, I think I'm very good at not being intimidated. Like in that era, Kenny Tran was quite a respected player, and I wasn't intimidated being at Kenny Tran's table. At my earlier table, I think Bryn Kenny was at my table. I think a couple other, what was his name?
There were a bunch of scanners.
85 or whatnot. A couple old school high stakes cash players and stuff were at my table, and I already felt like I was really good at the game. And so I didn't really have, and I think honestly back then, I think it was a little bit of kind of being naive on my part. but I think I also underestimated how different live was from online. So I kind of thought, hey, if I can already beat everyone online, I can beat them all live, kind of thing. I think I underestimated how many tells and stuff I was probably giving off. So I think I probably should have been more intimidated than I was. I still don't think I should have been very intimidated, but I wasn't intimidated in the slightest. And I probably should have at least not, talk shit during hands, things like that.
Live players suck. That's what you said.
Exactly.
Shout out to Michael on Facebook. He is watching from Kitchener. Good to have some Canadians here with us. He said he wishes he was out west watching the sunset over the mountains. I mean, don't we all? Don't we all wish to be in the situation like that? You have bears in your backyard, right? What was happening there?
Yeah, not often. We have a lot of elk in the backyard, and you'll see, I don't know, there'll be like a bear in the backyard, I don't know, once a year or something like that. So we don't at one point there was a bear climbing on our neighbor's hot tub and stuff like that. So they can happen, but you don't see them very often at all. Probably not as often. Is Mike from Kitchener, is that Mike Farrow or Mike Egan? Or I guess there's a lot of Mike poker players from my hometown, I guess.
Mike Couturier, that's the Michael that we have here in the chat right now.
Okay, gotcha.
So the other question that's been asked a few times is about your stare down. It came up a few times when we were watching some of the hands and about some of the ways to intimidate people or to prevent yourself from being intimidated. At what point did you get confident enough to stare down the top pros? Because from my perspective, and I'm just a recreational player, I'm fine with staring down Grandpa, but I don't want to stare down anyone of your level.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely think a decent number of guys just feel sort of, disrespected or whatnot. I'm sure, the Negranos, the Ivies, the guys that sort of, expect themselves to not give away any reads, I think have always been fairly insulted by me staring them down, especially when I was, 22 or, pretty young or whatnot, and definitely worse at live poker than they are. But yeah, I think that everybody kind of accepts that, we all give away some tells. It's impossible to, be completely unreadable, I suppose. And, I just thought it was kind of a decent advantage, just try to, pay as much attention as possible and just kind of use that as kind of part of my rhythm. Some people I don't think liked it, but, I think that, we all give away a lot at the poker table, and I just kind of wanted to kind of get in the habit of just try to be as focused as possible to kind of not miss anything obvious. It started maybe 2011 or whatnot, was watching a moderate amount on TV, and just kind of felt like when I watch guys on TV, I always know whether they're bluffing or not. And then when I play guys at the table and I'm always staring at the center of the table, I'm less consistent. I was like, well, it's because I'm not seeing people's face. So you just got in the habit of, looking at people's face more, looking at their eyes more, and just kind of like just being more focused on their mannerisms. Because you watch televised poker and you get such quick feedback, because when you fold a river or fold a flop or anything, you don't get a data point of whether you were right or wrong that they were bluffing, but you watch televised hands and you can kind of see your degree of consistency with knowing when someone has it and when they don't. I was just like, well, fuck, why can't I emulate the success I'm having reading people on TV that why can't I replicate that at the table? And then just kind of started staring at people more.
Right. For the people who are watching this video, please don't forget to like the video. It helps us a lot with getting discovered by other poker fans. We do this every single week, Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. If you have any requests for guests or for footage from PokerGO that we should do this exact show with, please let us know. I did this show with Mike Matisow watching the 2005 WSOP main event, and that was absolutely amazing hearing stories from the past from him. Mike, quarantine probably likely not to be over anytime soon. Aside from practicing a million free throws, what are you up to in your daily routine, and what's your outlook on the next couple of months?
Yeah, so I've been playing more chess lately the last couple of weeks, where, since kind of leaving poker, I played chess as a kid, and I got back into it about a year and a half ago or so. I played some chess on Twitch, got in, a match last weekend and had a lot of fun with it. So kind of studying more chess, playing more chess, and just kind of spending a decent amount of time on that. going on the odd hike out at my place. We still have, like, on the very tops of mountains, we still have snow on most of them, and that'll probably change in the next week or two. So there'll be more room to kind of do the bigger hikes and go summit some things. But like for right now, it's like it's a bit of a headache if it gets slushy at the top, or if there's like avalanche concerns, like when the snow is kind of like slippery or whatnot. So we'll probably do more of that later this month. If I do well with the free throw bet and I feel comfortable, maybe get into some golfing. And then with poker shares, this has been, because nobody has anything to do right now. Online gambling is like the funnest thing, where poker shares has been, I think, the busiest it's ever been. Normally we're busy. We're busy during the WSOP. Like we're busy during PCA. There's a couple times of the year where we get busy, and this has been more than any of them. The Gelfand challenge is such a perfect thing for our site, where we put up really low vig markets, and they have sessions every single day. And so we've been adding more things. We've been adding politics betting. We've added dice. We're adding full casino. We're really trying to kind of expand the things we're doing, and we're just finding that the number of new signups, the number of new deposits, the volume from our current users, it's all been kind of skyrocketing during this. So I've also been pretty busy with that.
Wow, lots of stuff going on. Mike, thank you so much for being on the show. Everyone at home watching, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week with a lot more action on Run It Back. Until then, please check out our YouTube channel and follow Mike on Twitter. Mike McDonald 89, is that still the handle?
Yep, that's it.
All right. Mike McDonald 89. I'm at Remko Rinkema on Twitter. Please hit me up if you have any questions or requests. Mike, thank you so much. You guys, this was Run It Back. We'll catch you guys next week.
All right. Thanks for having me on.